Hi, my name is Seth Walker, and I am the pastor of Tri-County Community Church, a new church that is coming to the area in the spring of 2022. In this video, it's an opportunity for you to get to know a little bit more about myself, the backstory to Tri-County Community Church, and a bit more about our mission and our heart for our church. Again, my name is Seth Walker. I am married to my wife, Annalise Walker, and we have a 1-year-old daughter named Chloe. I went to Central Mount Com Public Schools K through 12, and then went to Indiana Wesleyan University to get my undergraduate degree in Christian ministries, and then also completed a Master of Arts in Spiritual Care from Indiana Wesleyan as well. My wife and I moved to Charleston, South Carolina about 4 years ago with the intention to help start a church and then to start our own church in downtown Charleston. Now, the story behind Tri-County Community Church actually doesn't start with ourselves, but with another local pastor. Pastor Dave of Lakeview Community Church met with a group of other pastors within the Wesleyan denomination in the area and were praying about where there should be another church planted. And after prayer and discernment, they felt that God was saying that there should be a church planted in Howard City. Now, that was very exciting for them, but for different reasons, those pastors ended up leaving to go to other churches. And Pastor Dave was the lone member from that prayer group who still felt this call that God was calling a church to be planted in Howard City. So him and the Lakeview Community Church team prayed and discerned and were trying to figure out who is that person for it, what does that look like, for about 4 years with nothing really coming to fruition. And at least myself, we found out that we were pregnant in the spring of 2020 with Chloe, and we started to feel this longing for coming back home to Michigan. We weren't sure what that meant, so we prayed and we're trying to figure out if God was calling us back home. And through about a month or two of prayer, we felt that God was calling us back home, and eventually in 2021, but we didn't know what that looked like. We weren't sure what that meant. But eventually, about a month after we had announced on social media about our pregnancy, Pastor Dave reached out about an opportunity to plant a church in Howard City. And Annalise and I were struck by how much peace we had at the idea of starting a church in Howard City, knowing that we're going to be going from an area like Charleston, South Carolina, to Howard City, Michigan, somewhere very similar to where we both grew up. But we continued to pray and talk to Pastor Dave. And as we continually did that, we just felt that God was calling us to start a church in Howard City. And that is how Tri-County Community Church came about. As we were praying and trying to figure out what God was calling for the mission of the church to be, we eventually felt that God was leading us to this idea of reach, teach, and bless. We feel that God is calling the mission of Tri-County Community Church to be to reach people for Jesus, to teach people how to follow Jesus, and to bless the surrounding community. We feel that God is calling this to be what our church does in the community and for how we are to shine Christ's light in this world. So we invite you to come and see what God is doing through Tri-County Community Church. Whether you haven't been to church in a long time, or you're in need of hope, or you just need a community to be a part of, we would love to have you and to see what God is doing in the Howard City area.